is up? Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff. How's it going, gentlemen? Doing
Good
great?
to have you back.
It is great to be back. Yeah, it's great to be back. A little long way. That wasn't fun, but hey, we're here having fun on Friday. Got some fun stuff to talk about this week. If you're not following us, please go do that. Let's talk realestate.tv. You find all of our links there. But I wanted to start talking this week about the market. Some fun stuff has happened since we last had a live show. There's some banking things happened. No big deal there. Lots of people got really worried and concerned. People still are. Saw some interesting stuff on Facebook from people in the real estate industry who are like trying to pull money out of small banks and they're not letting them. I don't know if you saw that one, Carlos. But let's talk about perspectives in sellers and buyers first, because I'm curious if things are starting to shift, because we're all like, we know that it was a seller's market inside of COVID, and they were just like able to get any price that they asked for. The market was appreciating, and now we're like, it should be a buyer's market, right? Because buyers are able to get what they want because everybody's trying to move properties. But who knows if sellers have come around to that conversation. I don't talk to sellers. You talk to sellers, Papa P. But maybe that's changed in the last 2 weeks now that they saw some banking crisis.
I figured that it might, but it's like you're at this point where so interest rates like, oh my man, Johnny, water, dude,
The sparkling too.
I am now ordering this water by the case from my local store. They're now setting aside 2 cases a week for me and my wife, and I gotta go pick them up every Monday. Nice. Anyway, Carlos, I can hear the Miami Grand Vice out there. Fucking Grand Theft Auto. But, so I've talked about it before, like me and my wife looking for houses. I think it's just a hobby that she does because I'm never moving. But they're still like, a lot of these things are still flying off the shelf. Now they're still like, I was talking with a buddy yesterday. He's talking about some of his flips who are like in some of the shittier neighborhoods aren't moving as fast, and he's just dropping the price to get them out. But interest rates really aren't. Come on, guys. Like, if they're not that bad, like 6%, 7%. And then I was reading that they're talking about cutting rates towards the summertime, especially if this banking crisis happens. But to get to your point, man, it's like we're at this point where I think buyers and sellers each think that it's in their favor.
Like it's they're the ones that are out to win it, and nobody's ready to say it's the others.
Well, look at it from like the perspective of a buyer. You don't know what the fuck's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea whether the bank's going to collapse, whether the market's going to go down. Yes, I'm selling my inventory. Yes, there's still demand. Yes, people are getting mortgages and locking their rates in when the interest rates drop like it did the other week.
Yeah.
But can I predict that's good? It takes what? On average, it's going to take you almost 60 days to turn a flip, depending on the level of rehab, from the time you purchase it to the time it's, in escrow or put on the market and ready to go. Listing photos and everything. So think about that. If it's going to take me 60 days, how do I know in this world, I don't fucking know what's going to happen in 60 days. Shit, dude. So, but then sellers are still getting called by so many people. So many people. And listing agents are still selling the juice, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
you can get this property for top dollar. Just sign on with me.
Yeah, your property's worth $320,000 when it's really only worth like $250,000. It doesn't matter to them. I saw an interesting post by somebody because he was on. It was King of Miami Real Estate, and I was multifamily, but it's what I think of every day because I'm always looking at mobile home parks. And he made a funny post where he's like, realtors, like if your listings aren't selling in this market after like 6 months, 8 months, like you need to go back and talk to the seller.
Oh, they're not even going back to the seller to change
probably a lot earlier than that. Jeez, 6 months on the market? My gosh.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, the whole point is, you should be talking to them a lot sooner. But like, if at this point your deal's not moving, you've mispriced it, was the moral of the story. And there's still a lot of that because sellers, a lot of times, like people think it's all realtors' fault. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, yes, realtors could be shady, but a lot of times it's, I really need business, and John thinks his property is worth $5 million. I'll just, cool, dude. Like $5 million.
Let's try it. Let's see what happens.
Because the trick is it's lead generation.
Mm.
I don't care if I sell John's property. What I care about is all the leads.
Oh, the people see my name attached to stuff, so they'll call me.
Interesting.
I never thought about it from that perspective as an agent.
I never did that. That was an old. I know a lot of KW agents who used to do that back in the day. They would list it at whatever. And this was back when it was a buyer's market back in like 2012. Well, back when I was an agent and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. So you have those two competing things where sellers are still getting told what they want. They're still getting hounded. But then you got buyers who are still buying, don't get me wrong, but they're still being cautious because they don't know what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what's going on, which is why I'm not buying property right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am. I'm, mobile home parks. I don't really give a shit. I don't know, man. It's tough, but I'm still seeing shit moving. Like I was saying, like there's houses that we look at. There was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in our neighborhood, like near the lake that, like if I were to move, that's where I'd go, like the rich area. Mm-hmm. I'm on the outskirts of the rich area. I'm in the poor rich. But it was 2.2. It was outdated as shit. $389K gone in 2 days.
Wow.
I mean, it was so outdated. It was like grandma lived there. There's no land, no nothing. Needs complete guts. Only 2 bedrooms. Almost $400,000. It was $389,900 gone in 2 days. Crazy. And I got countless stories like that in nice areas. And I talked to other people in other metros, and they say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still moving out there.
Yeah, it is interesting just to synthesize what we talked about this week. It's like buyers thinking it's a buyer's market, sellers thinking it's a seller's market. It's like the Venn diagram overlap there is like a buyer that's motivated enough that's like, man, I need to generate some business or revenue in my business, so I'm going to take on X amount of risk here in acquiring this deal, however I'm getting into it. And the seller has to be motivated enough where like they're not going to list it with a realtor, or they need to sell their property even if they might not be getting the very top dollar for it. But yeah, it is interesting, man. Just so much macro stuff going on as it has the last couple of years. Banks collapsing. John pointed out some real estate people we saw, excuse the police or sirens here in Midtown Miami.
Wow, dude. But what the fucking Miami? This is why nobody wants to live there.
Well, spring break has been crazy in Miami Beach. Some people getting shot up, unfortunately, rest in peace. But yeah, even some real estate people having issues taking their money out of their banks this week, I think is what you're alluding to the post there. So
100%, dude. I told my mom this morning, right? Because I worry about her, after my dad passed, like it's just my mom.
Does she live local to where you're at? Or is she in PA?
So we have multiple, she does, multiple residents. So our main family home is up in PA. And then she's down here. Right. So right now, but anyway, I mean, but I told her, I said, I was really concerned, and I was like, Ma, like you need to call your financial advisor, because she's one of those people.
Has a financial advisor.
That generation, it's that generation. They grew up in that time when you had brokers and advisors and all that stuff, and that's where you gave your money. And I was like, he needs to get rid of anything that has the word STOCK in it. And anything that has is based on the U.S. Treasury. We need to get everything into like a gold commodity or something safe. So when this shit goes down, you're not starting over at 70. Like there's, and so I was texting her this morning talking about it because you got Russia and China talking about with some of the African, there's a couple countries, they're now going to no longer trade in US dollars or it's all going to be in the yuan. And then the same thing with Saudi Arabia said they're going to do the same thing. The IMF said they're no longer going to use the US dollar as a way to value economies and their functioning and how good.
What are they going to use?
Multiple currencies probably. And it's not the only, a lot of countries have now stopped using the US dollar, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is, but it's not, because they're using their own country's currency as their stronghold. But it just shows the lack of faith in our economy, and our presidency, and just the general stupidity of what's going on, which begs the question, if my man Trump was in office, would any of this be happening? Fuck no, it wouldn't. And here's the thing. I want to talk about like, and maybe it's because I'm young, and maybe there's some ignorance here because I haven't like fully educated myself on all past presidents. But Trump was supposed to be indicted on Tuesday. He
Mm-hmm.
was never considered a popular president. In fact, they've always said the opposite of him.
Sure.
Outside of Mar-a-Lago, there was, I mean, the cops had to come because they had lines and lines and lines of people backing up that highway with signs and flags and trucks and like everything supporting this man. And I don't remember that ever happening for any other fucking president ever. And I'm not talking about just when he gets in trouble. I'm just talking about in general, anything this man does, he has insane amount of support. I don't remember that for Obama, and he was the first black president. I don't remember, definitely don't remember for Biden, and he was supposed to be the most popular president. I don't remember for Bush. I don't remember for any Clinton. When Clinton was like with Monica Lewinsky getting some you-know-what in the office, I don't see people riling to his defense going, come on, my man's just getting some. No, but for Trump, they do it, dude.
Is that a good thing, though?
Hell yeah, it is, baby. He's a fucking superstar.
I know. Is that a good thing?
Why not? Don't you want your people to
Isn't
love their leader?
superstar different than like good leader of a country? I don't see those being synonymous.
How are they not synonymous?
I don't know.
Aside from that, I'm gonna see. I need to get my crisp working so I can talk when there's people getting shot out here. But Trump, it might be Trump fans outside just shooting people.
What?
I get where you're coming. You know, there's the group of people that are like diehard Trump, and anything that's going on, they're like, if Trump was president, this couldn't happen. I think I've said live on an episode before. I think he's just too compromised. Like he's already. There are too many people that would be like upset, or the morale would be too down with the country if he came back. Like there is a group that's super pumped.
I agree with that. I agree with that in the past. I think we're at a point right now where it's becoming very obvious we're in trouble. I was
going to say too, really quick on the point. It is bad, and if we've mentioned the Ray Dalio book before, where it's like the world's main currency is about a 250-year cycle.
Yeah.
So like the U.S. dollar has been the power for like 250 years. Amazing, America thriving, everything like that. We're just at that point where it's ready to turn over. I just saw a video of not Biden, Putin and China's making Russian pancakes together, like literally cooking. It's troubling that they and maybe a few other countries are switching to China's currency, whatever that is. Yeah. It would be more disturbing if that was taking over globally as the main currency of the world instead of it's distributed. But if it's trending that direction where China's currency is becoming, essentially replacing the dollar,
their influence. Yeah,
that's not good.
Influence. They're asserting their influence. And listen, I'm not saying Trump's the solution. What I'm saying is that no matter what anybody thinks, Trump had respect because he knew how to deal with people, whether people liked it or not. And that's what a good leader does. Is you don't give a shit if people are going to like you per se. You do what you feel needs to be done for this situation. And right now, there's no respect. There's no risk. Did you watch that State of the Union that Putin gave to his country?
I have it on my YouTube saved later, but I didn't watch it.
When he talks about the U.S. and how we're basically tearing ourselves apart with the whole transgender identification, gay, the no family thing, and everyone's equal and allowing people to compete, blah, 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 blah. I was like, bro, he's right. And then you got Biden stumbling all over the place, and you got China with a strong leader and Russia with a strong leader saying, the fuck is this guy going to do? He just sent all of his money to Ukraine and like it's never going to end. I'm just saying, dude. Anyway, all I wanted to say was I just saw the post about Trump down in Florida, and I was like, I just brought up my mind. I was like, I've never seen a more popular president.
It's so emotional, though, and that's what I think bothers me. It's hard to have a conversation with somebody that's that emotional. I kind of feel like that's the trend that's
100%.
happening right now. It's like
Without
people get
factual information.
yeah,
There's a
everybody
lot
gets
of things,
so
yeah.
emotional about it. And like I feel like you can detach yourself from like your love of the man to like, hey, let's talk like politics and
I
policies.
don't love Trump. I think he's fucking awesome. I think it's
However you
phenomenal.
feel about him. But
No,
like you walk up to somebody that's blocking that road with a sign, like
that's the difference between conservatives and liberals, in my opinion. Conservatives are able, most of them, the majority of them, are able to detach themselves and talk factual. But you try doing that. Like, I don't know if in your family, if you know any extreme liberals or people on that side of the fence, they are extremely, extremely, like, they will spit on you and hate you for your defense of Trump. Listen, if you want to defend Biden, I'm not even gonna waste the time arguing with you on this. Like,
I live in Florida, so I haven't experienced that. I have heard stories of family
I know,
members from like
I
the
know.
Pacific Northwest, and I was like, wow, do people really get that passionate? But that's it. Like, I mean, I get emotions on both sides. Like, I do feel like there's a lack, or there has been a change from people being able to have conversations and a discussion and
Yeah.
a debate where it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that. You're the dumbest person on the planet. Like, and you've just offended me to my deepest core. I will never talk to you again. Like, I don't feel
But
like
what
that really happened 40, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And now it is. And it's sad to me.
But what happens when the banking collapses or the US dollar devalues? Everything goes up. So when a currency devalues, basically inflation skyrockets either prior to or after it happens, essentially, as it's happening and after. And what we're experiencing is what I think Carlos was saying is it happens before. Like, it's the changing of the world order right now. But what I was getting at with the Trump thing and we got off balance is I don't think I think we would have staved it off longer because we had a stronger leader, a leader who was able to be a patriot and say, this is America. We're going to do what we fucking want to do. You do that, there will be repercussions, whether right or wrong. I'm just saying he would have stood his ground and not allowed that to happen. Whereas now we are. And so that's speeding that process up where we are seeing that skyrocketing inflation. That's one of the first signs of a devaluing of your currency. The other thing is an increase in supply that we had during COVID and we're having again now. But I was going back to my mom, like moving money. I was like, okay, well, let's put it in this. I'm thinking, what's safe? So
Right.
as a real estate person, you talk about real estate being safe and it's not.
Mm.
Like, I can say, let's go buy mobile home
Long
parks
term
all
might
day.
be, but
Well,
like,
no, think about it. If the
oh, are
person
you
paying
talking as it relates to the dollar? Yeah. Okay.
if
Yeah.
the person paying the rent can't pull their money out of their bank, you can't get rent. And do you think your mortgage is going to get forgiven? Now, again, maybe somebody comes in, swoops in, and saves the day and says you don't have to pay your mortgage anymore, but you still have bills.
Mm-hmm.
If the banks don't give you the money, or if the currency devalues and everything comes expensive, people don't pay rent, you're still going to default on some of these assets. So what is a good asset to have if you're in the country that's devaluing? It happened to the British pound. It's like 70 years ago it happened to them, and the entire pound devalued and everything there. John, you may remember. I mean, you're probably about that.
I'm not 70 years old.
I was waiting for a John comment.
I know. I look great for 70, don't I, guys? When I was a wee one.
Yeah.
So William Johnson Holt said most conservatives and liberals are reasonable, peaceable. Brandin defends all conservatives, but only picks up the extreme left as if there isn't an extreme right. There's always an extreme right. There's always two extremes. But if I was going to compare the two, I would say liberals are more unforgiving and more stuck in their belief than conservatives. And maybe that's a personal opinion, but I agree with you. There's always extremes on either side. I think it would be ignorant to say that there's not. I mean, there's anomalies for everything.
Yeah.
There's extremes on either side for sure. On any side,
For everything.
if we're talking liberals, conservative, everything in
I
life.
can bring that back to real
parallel.
estate too.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
everything in life.
People who love single family and people who hate single family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Like, it's the same for anything, but I don't know. When it comes back to protecting your real estate, I really think people need to start considering what they're doing with their money, and where they're putting it, per se. Because I think the old adage of put it in real estate instead of in the bank, I don't think that solves the problem either. Because first goes the banks, then goes the stocks, then goes the real estate, and what's left is commodities.
So what like gold?
again, you could have some people argue crypto and Bitcoin if you really wanted to,
Yeah,
but
it's
gold,
true.
silver. But again, you still need a medium of exchange. You still
Hmm.
need an easily and accessible way to exchange those things, and it's not so easy to exchange fucking gold for food. So gold could be a great store of value, right, to protect assets. But how are you going to go buy your bread with gold?
Hmm.
Whereas with crypto, you can. But I don't think we're even there yet with crypto. And you know, I'm a crypto advocate, but I don't think we're there yet. But I was also getting at, I read an article where they're saying by 2025, there's some people out there really trying to have all this centralized banking coins, CBDCs, labeled out by 2025. So even if DeSantis or Trump or a conservative, right, comes in to revamp this, it could be too late at that point. And we probably lost some viewers. So I apologize, guys.
You know, I would just like, can we just skip forward in time and then we'll just see how Ray Dalio's predictions end up? Because I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. Like, who's the one
It
to
doesn't matter if you don't know the answer. The thing is like no one knows, and anyone who says they do, you don't even know what's going to happen if the dollar gets devalued. There's
right?
no way to predict how it's going to shake out.
Yeah. I mean, I remember these conversations 3 years ago of like shit's gonna go on fire, like run for the woods,
Oh yeah.
and here we
And
are still today, not running for the woods and talking
speaking
about
of,
again, run for the woods.
for William Holmes over here with conservatives versus liberals, how about this? Liberals were trying to force people to get fucking vaccines and threatening you that you were killing their fucking grandma, while people like me didn't care whether you did or didn't. I didn't get in your business. I didn't spit on you. I didn't hate on you. I didn't threaten your life. I didn't scream at you. But guess who did? And it's not, those aren't the extremists. Those are the people that were posting on Facebook. Those are the people that were posting all over. And now we just have a different subject. There's just a different thing that the masses
It's
want
all
to argue
driven
about.
by fear, though.
100%.
At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Well,
Fear
that's
and
why they use the
uncertainty.
grandma analogy. Nobody
Right.
wants to hurt dear old grandma.
Yeah. Everyone's scared of something and unfortunately willing to be passionate and inconsiderate and illogical at times to solve their fear.
And that's what I think the bigger thing is, whether we're talking real estate, what to invest your money on, politics, issues like COVID, is two big things that I see that I would speak to. We'll see if
Wow.
Will is still on. One is just mainly is when you come into a conversation like this, even if we have people commenting in live and Brandon going back and forth with them, is if both sides aren't coming into that conversation with their main intention trying to understand the other people, it's
Yeah.
just pointless. Like someone's going to say pro conservative stuff, someone's going to say pro liberal stuff, and they're not trying to understand each other. So that's the biggest thing: is you need to come to the table. We have so much stuff going on right now. It's like people need to be willing and able to do that, like coming from a point of trying to understand other people's perspective and learn, and then they can share their own. And then the second thing is just coming with the same facts about stuff, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's real estate market. Like if you're not coming to the table looking at the same facts, whether it's COVID, real estate investing, what's going on in the world, it's just like a mute point and just like a not worth having that conversation. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's two things. Whatever podcast you're listening to, if you're talking politics with family, friends, watching shows like this, it's like I think we need to work on some of the same data. So like I would love a conversation, Papa P, between you and somebody similar to the viewer that chimed in, but it's the same. You guys are going off the same data, and then we're talking about that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the whole conversation started just because I wanted to say that everyone talks like everyone hates Trump, but I've never seen anybody have such a fan base before. I mean,
Right.
who would be the next person? Like Nixon,
Obama.
maybe back in the day, even Obama, and maybe that's where my ignorance comes in because maybe I wasn't paying attention as much. I don't know what his fan base was like. I don't know if people were outside his home in Chicago cheering for him, causing traffic jams and doing and like I have no idea. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. What was that? I was.
And everybody has
I
blind
was
spots too.
20 some years old. I wasn't paying attention.
And
Yeah.
everybody has blind spots, and just the way that you're made, like your reticular activating system,
Yeah,
and
that's
also just how
true.
you grew up, how you're influenced. It's like you see such a small thing, and your brain is literally wired to delete and not pay attention to so many other inputs out of your mind. Like that would
Well,
be
that's the
so
thing,
much
man.
brain power. So if you were to like soak up every single thing of all your senses picked up, so it's like your brain is literally designed to delete and ignore almost everything
So here's
that
a
you're not
question:
focusing on.
is like if the government fails and you have Section 8, do you still get paid?
Probably not.
Right? Like,
I
so if
imagine
the US
no.
dollar devalues and my park runs on Section 8 Housing Authority money, I don't know the answer to that, but I just thought of that, and that's a valid question. Because
I
we're moving in
mean,
a bunch of Section 8 people over the next month or two in our vacant units. And I was like, man, like who would fail first? Would it be your tenant not having the money, or would it be the Section 8 people? Because right now it's the opposite, right? You rely on Housing Authority. It's like clockwork. They just
Yeah.
pay you money. I don't know how that would work.
it'd be interesting to see. I hope. I mean, we obviously
So what
hope
do
it
you
doesn't get
we
that
don't want
bad,
to
but
see it, bro.
yeah, we don't want to see it. But
I
I
don't want to
mean,
fucking see it.
and that's like another Ray Dalio thing. It's like, you can only you have to put a certain amount of brain time and energy predicting kind of like the best possible outcomes, the worst possible outcome, but nobody knows for sure. You know, nobody knows what's going to happen. But no matter what, no matter who's president, which we talked about on the show too, no matter who's president, no matter what type of global disease is going on, like at the end of the day, you're the only one responsible for your life. And you're
Yeah,
still, no matter what's going on, you're going to have to be accountable for your actions,
yeah.
planning, how you show up, your mental mindset, what you're putting in your head, how you're
Pro-
programming
problem
yourself.
is most people aren't prepared for that. Most people could barely take care of themselves. That's it. And the only people who's going to get offended by that statement are people who don't know how to take care of themselves, who don't know how to deal with problems or work problems and all that problems work them. But there's the majority of society is not equipped to handle a situation that could possibly be coming down the pipeline.
Well, hey,
I'm
if
not,
you're watching this show, you're at least working on your
Semi-warned.
real estate strategy.
so here's something I was thinking, and I'm going to throw this out there, and this is off topic, but I feel like we'll get off the politics, but it kind of goes to this because I have personally made some decisions in my business based on the political environment. Not just that, but like what my ultimate goal, and good to great, and trying to be great at something and not just good, not trying to chase money. All these things have been dwelling on me. And so let me ask a question.
Mm.
What would you say, an average profit margin for a wholesaler slash flipper?
When you say
Let's just say
profit margin, you're saying
profit
on a
margin.
deal, like
No,
what's
no. Like in their business.
in
Like,
their business. Okay.
what do we think if at the end of the day, every month I was like, man, I made 100 grand. I keep blank.
I feel like didn't you and I look at this, Carlos, and or something? I 30 to 40% is what's coming in my brain.
Okay. Okay. So I was at the gym, and this is not just a today thing. I have been having a philosophical debate with myself because in this industry, we talk so much about money
Mm-hmm.
and we talk so much about like what matters most. And I think a lot of people, if you'd be lying, anybody who's listening who says they're not doing this for the money is a fucking liar. Okay. You didn't get into wholesaling because it was fucking, oh my God, I fucking love it. This is the best business in the fucking world. I'm so passionate about it. Fucking liar.
The guy
So-
who gets energy from cold calling and getting
Yeah.
nasty responses from people.
He's like, I love handling memos and all this. This is what God made me for. This is my mission. Come, my flock of sheep. No. So okay. So if we're gonna say, let's just say 35%.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I was thinking about people in the industry who are like, and this is where I don't think a lot of people really ask the right questions. And I always say why and how are the two most fundamental questions that you can ask.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people are always looking at surface level. Instagram's a highlight reel. You know the deal. Okay. So if I was to tell you, you can make $2.3 million in a year. And I came up to you and I was like, man, me and my partner, we made 2.3 million fucking dollars. Boom. We crushed it, or 2.5 million, whatever, right? Like we crushed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Carlos comes up to you and says, man, I pulled in $1.1 million last year. Who do you want to learn from?
You have no idea if they're talking revenue or profit.
No, we're talking revenue.
Oh.
I pulled in these deals, and I made 1.1, and Brandon comes along and says, yeah, so what? My organization made 2.3, maybe my partner
I
crushed
don't know
it.
enough information.
Who do you want to learn from?
I
That's the
don't have
problem.
enough
Okay.
information.
In general, the surface level, you would say the guy
Right.
or gal that
But
had
if
more revenue.
Carlos is only working 4 hours a week and the other two people are
No.
working
That has
80 hours a
nothing to
week,
do with it. That has nothing to do
I
with it.
know, but that's what I'm saying is like
It does.
you don't
Hang on.
know.
You're
Okay.
trying to look deeper into
Fine,
this than
keep
it is.
talking.
So the question becomes when we want to educate ourselves, because it's not about, I know what you're trying to do, and it's not about time, and it's not about any of that. What you need to look at it is, if I came to you and said you can make X amount of money in your business, and or people always say go learn from somebody who has what you want. So on the surface level, I say I make 2.3, but I have a partner. Well, at 35% of 2.3, it's what, $2.3 million.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only walking away with $805,000. That's only $400K for me. So think about that. And that's where I think a lot of wholesalers get lost is you hear 2.3 million, but that guy only brought home 400K.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos is bringing home roughly the same at 35% on a 1.1 million. He just doesn't get the bragging rights that the other people got.
Sure.
Because he doesn't have a partner and he did it himself. So, but when you think about that, you only brought home 400K, and think about the stress.
Right.
Okay. That was to take down $2 million worth of deals. I mean, come on. And if you got a partner, it's a lot easier, right? Because if you're blessed with having a partner with your capability that can do, whether it's TC, acquisition, dispo, whatever it is, right? Bear that other half of the load.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got to have? 2.3 average deal size? What do you think? That's 100 to 200 deals. Let's just hit it in the middle at 150 transactions. That's a lot of deals. And I don't think people fully understand how much work that is.
Right.
I've never even done 150 deals in a year. It's a shit ton of work, right? So when you start thinking about that, of how much work it costs, like causes, how much employees you have to manage, right? The different marketing channels, the data, all of that stuff. And all you did was bring home $400,000. And I started to say, is it all worth it for 400K? And here's the beauty is and a lot of people will hate this too, but you're probably not going to make it. Very few organizations get to that level, just like sports.
Yeah.
There's levels to it. And I think too many people are trying to attain the celebrity of saying, I do this much without actually thinking what it does. Doing $1 million by yourself with a small team, even on your own, and pulling in 3 to 400K is no different than doing 2 million with a big fucking team or with a partner that you have to take on. Doing $5 million, right? And you have to split between, because you brought guys on and you're giving them profit shares and all this. I mean, when you break it down, you're only making 30% of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're walking away with $1.5 million of $5 million. But do you understand what it takes to run that $5 million organization?
I feel like there needs to be like a happiness. We talk about profit margins, talk about revenue. There needs to be like a happiness / stress level that people talk about.
Okay.
I think those numbers are like I'm pretty sure that's for like a pretty healthy business.
Yeah.
But there are companies that are lower than
that are a lot lower than that.
Just to emphasize your point.
And flipping's the same, right? So a lot of flippers want that 20, 30% margin. So flipping is no different. In fact, margins may be worse. So we have this ego, right? Where it's like, I need to do this. And I want to learn from these guys that are doing this. And if you ask yourself why, like, why do they want to run a $5 million wholesaling? Is it because that they're not good enough to do anything else? Or is it because you're addicted to it?
Tyler Austin's. I love Tyler Austin. He's posted about this a few times in the last year.
Yeah.
Pretty much all that Brandon has just been rapping on, pretty much saying that people just do that for like their damaged egos or for boosting their egos.
That's where I'm at, right? Because it's like, where is great? So I reread the book Good to Great for like the 4th time, and I'm really listening to it like this last time around. And I was like, where is great? So, John and I have our software company, and I really thought, and John and I have talked long and hard about like our focuses and stuff like that. of like where the energy needs to go and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, when you talk about giving up wholesaling, it's almost like you don't want to do it because of what it means to other people, not what it means to you. When you talk about going to all these masterminds and trying to pay all these coaches to do it, right, which brings down your margin, and you pay all these coaches to do it, what are you really saying that you can attain? So the amount of effort that I'm basically my overarching thing, what I'm getting at is, would we agree that for 99% of people, wholesaling is capped at a couple $1 million in top line revenue?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So barring the 1%, and of the 1%, there is 1% of that 1%, like New Western, who does like, I don't know, like about 12,000 deals. Like it's some insane amount of deals a year. Crazy amount of fucking deals, dude. Thousands of deals a year. So unless you're that guy, or somehow you've scaled to 10 to 20 million, but even then you're capped. How many other industries and businesses provide a much better opportunity of growth in sales? Because here's the thing, you can never sell a wholesaling operation.
Right.
You put all this fucking work in and you can't sell your flipping business.
Yeah. You can become a coach and teach people how to do it.
Well, that's what you start getting into, the hedges,
Yeah.
people hedging against their business. Like when
No. I
feeling
think
mortality.
you're wrong. I don't okay, so the mortality thing, yes, but I don't think it's a hedge. I think it's an enlightening. I think we make fun of people who are like, oh, you're coaching and you're not doing it anymore. But I think people have started to understand the game. It's the old San Francisco gold miner game.
Mm-hmm.
You could come out and mine for gold, 1% will hit it, but the person who makes more money is the person who sells you the shovel or the pick.
Right.
But I think that's not sexy, and they always talk shit on that person. So just like when we were in high school, you don't want to be the loser getting picked on and talk shit on, the one doing the strange shit, right?
Right.
You want to be in the cool group. So I was like, man, like what really provides more money? And so me and my wife, when we were planning, and we have a vision board out here, we were talking about like our mobile home parks, and I ran the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so if we buy X amount of parks, and there's different things called acquisition fees and stuff you could tack onto your syndication. I did the math and I ran our numbers on like our best year of like when I had a full on in-office team, like fucking just crushing deals. This was before like all of this crazy shit. And I was like, are you telling me we would have a better margin and walk away with more money, dealing with less things and have a smaller team? And there's residual value.
Right. Long-term
Residual value and actual cash flow. But yet you still have the sale. You still have these pieces just at a different scale. And I don't think a lot of people realize it because they're too afraid not to. What are your guys' thoughts on this? I'm not even done with my theory, right? Like this is not a complete thing. I've just been thinking about it for like months. John, you know I've been bouncing. I've thrown that question at you for a long time. Money or experience? When's enough? Like, I don't know.
You know, it's interesting. Like, I think, how did you just phrase it? Like, you want to be part of the cool group.
Yeah.
I think that's what it looks like, right? Like, I mean, everybody is like aware of that draw. It's like been in your entire life since you're a kid. You're just like, you look at somebody and like, oh my God, that's the cool group. I just watched this like mastermind video and everybody's walking up to this dude and giving him handshakes.
Gems,
and like
bro.
gems. Like, look at these 5 people. They just like put their fists together and they're all at their Rolexes. Like, I'd love to do that too. Like, and it's like that factor is so like intrinsically appealing on like an anthropological evolutionary standpoint inside a human that it is really, really hard to break off of that and separate yourself and say, you know what? I could be more successful, make more money, and be happier over here. But would you be? Because like you still could like look over there and be like, hey man, that's not me. That sucks.
So when I was a realtor, I was on a 95-5 split. And I think my best year I pulled in like 400K. I'd have to look at like my returns, but it was almost like 400K. So I kept of that 400K more than 300 of it. You know what I mean? Like I kept like 350 or more. And it was just me. And so, and that's where I've been really tossing around is like, so to scale, So everybody knows that to scale, you're going to make less. So there's a sacrifice there. But what they don't talk about is that the bus or the plane that you're on that's taking you to that moon, right? This moonshot we're all looking at, right? But wholesaling is not a moonshot. Wholesaling goes to the atmosphere and that's it. It crashes back down. Because as you're going and you know you're making this sacrifice that I could make 300-400K as myself, busting my ass, investing in being a realtor or whatever. But the second I scale a team, I can only, 99% of people only get to the point where you break back even or make slightly more than what you were on your own, because wholesaling has a certain cap that you can't get past unless you have such extreme capability to hit that 10, 20 million. Like once you're at 5 million, you definitely blow past what you would have done on your own.
Got to add some more rockets to the ship.
Exactly. But then that becomes
that point.
But then here's the thing: to add more rockets, you add complexity.
Yeah.
Right? You have to add multiple businesses. But what if I came to you and I said, hey man, listen, like I know you're wholesaling and I know this, but I have another business that can scale to 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. It doesn't matter. It's actually limitless. It just depends on your ability to build a team, sell the product, and go. And it's residual because every customer that you, and that's what people miss with wholesaling is it's not residual.
Right.
There's no synergy of your customer. It's a one-time and done. So what if I told you that? Would you quit wholesaling for that?
I would, but I think I've come to the maturity that I understand that that's a better long-term decision.
Maturity.
Maturity. I don't think
wisdom, experience. So when you're there and you say that to yourself, why would you? And so now I'm going with Alex Hermosi because I was listening to him on a podcast with Andy Frisella and he did a reverse, he worked backwards. And so if you work backwards and you say that you would take that to begin with, why would you start wholesaling to begin with? If you have the ability to build a business, like if you have that innate ability in you, why is it? One, it's sold as being quick and easy.
Right? Yeah, it's like the marketing ploy. Like,
the industry itself is a great marketer for the industry. Like it is
16-year-olds can do this on TikTok.
And it's the brotherhood. It's almost
before that, infomercials and stuff.
It's like the modern day sports, right? It's like the sports of business. You get this team camaraderie that you feel a part of because no other industries are like that. And I'm not in a lot of other industries, so I guess I can't say that with actual factual knowledge. But
no, I think you're right. Like, I mean, I'm technically in another industry, and I mean, there is still commodity in places you can go, but the wholesaling community is something unique,
bro. I've never had more people like when I share something on Instagram or whatever, like bro. Like like I was at the
what are they saying after bro?
Like, bro, that gems, bro. Can't believe you shared that, bro. Gems.
Gotcha.
Gems. I don't know. I'm making that up, but I was just thinking because so I was at the country club working out, and I'm watching all these like older business people. And a lot of them are all in the same industry, right? Like they're all in either it's construction or majority of people are in some type of medical field or they own a lot of buildings and they're pretty big in these types of things over here. And you got a lot of Publix employees. Like Publix is huge.
Oh yeah, you're in Lakeland. Bunch of Publix employees.
And I just watch how they talk about business and it's so much different. And I think it goes back to what John said about that maturity level. And it's like these people are in industries that scale a lot differently than wholesaling. So it derives a bunch of different types of people. And I was just like, why is our industry the way it is with the gems and the bros and the masterminds and the groups where you don't actually do anything? It's literally just an excuse to go. And I did the mastermind circuit. It's an excuse to party. But yet they sell you on the fact that you're going to go watch a bunch of speakers, which is, and what are you getting? Now, I think there's a few out there. Like I think Tiffany and Josh really hit the nail on the head with how to do it right. And I've never been to their thing, but I do follow them. And I've known them from a while ago when we did the Raphael thing. But she solved a major problem in that where she brings you into the office and actually goes through the systems and the processes to really teach you. It's less about the glitz and the glamour as it is about the operations.
Yeah.
But that's one out of like, how many of these things do you see popping up?
Oh yeah. I think too, like 7-figure flipping. Never been to one of those events, but Bill Allen is very much that way too. I feel like learn how to run an operation. Where some of those ones you just like you see more recaps of people in nightclubs with sparklers and champagne than you do of like, oh, I just learned some great real estate business operational advice. So I agree with your kind of sentiment about that.
So going back to it, if you have this ability and you have the dreams for money and you do want to hit a moonshot and you
Maybe
understand
nightclub
that,
parties.
but you
Maybe
understand that you only have so much time, John. Why has no one added that up?
because that's what they want. Maybe they want to be part of a community where it's
Could be.
like put my Rolexes in and so on and so
I think
forth. Like,
we're identifying or stereotyping an industry for Rolexes.
sorry, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? That I don't go to masterminds. I don't follow all these people on Instagram. That's what I've seen. But like, I mean, maybe they're looking at the community. They're looking at who's involved in that space. I mean, even if they were presented logically with this option or this option.
yeah, but it's not a viable business. It's not a regenerative business. It's not a scalable
I'm with
business.
you on all of that. Maybe
So
we need to do a litmus test here. Like, can we go to like a mastermind, talk to some like two people, and like
I don't know.
present
I
like,
haven't.
Let's get
I don't.
Brandon with a wire and a body
I,
cam
I
and
don't.
just
I
do
don't
all
think
of
I'm
this.
ready yet. Like I haven't come up with the answer. Like there is an ultimate answer to this question that I have
yeah,
yet to figure out what it is. But it's like when you listen to the, I think if I were to say anything, I think people need to ask the right questions. And
yeah,
instead of saying how many deals do you do or how much money do you make, you need to know what somebody takes home, right? Because if I were to tell you I do 10 deals, like I talked to a guy who did like maybe 8 to 10 deals, but he walks away with over $1 million a year because of the way and he doesn't give a shit. And it's the way he carried himself, the way he explained it, derived instant respect.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but he makes more doing less than most wholesale. Like, so who's the genius?
Like when I said that happiness equation, screw the word happiness. Like I feel like there's some magic formula that instead of like number of deals, like let's say like you go to a Facebook group and you say, "Hey, post the number of deals you get done." Somebody puts 8 and somebody puts 150. You're automatic like that 150 person's amazing. So
100%.
like there needs to be some other formulas. Like, what's
But what?
your hoobity flop formula?
But what if the 150 deals had 3 partners?
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like it's like number
People
of
don't ask
deals,
that question.
workload, profit,
Yeah,
splits,
and
like take home, like
that's
how
the
many
thing.
hours you're working to get to that take home pay. Like there's a lot that goes into all of that to figure it out. Like what?
See, and I hate when people talk about like hours that you put in because I think that's wrong. And I think that's, and I'm not saying that what you said is ignorant, but I think it's an ignorant statement when people say that I only have to work so much in my business because any real business owner knows that it's not about what labor you put into your business. Working has to do with thought of like power of thought. And if
Sure,
you're a
sure.
real business owner, you are always thinking. It's nonstop work. You're
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it while you're at your kid's game. You're thinking about it when
No,
you
no,
go to
no.
school.
I
You're
agree with
always
that
working.
100%. Like,
I could
and
never define my hours.
yeah, no. But it's like the hours that you spend on tasks that maybe somebody else should be doing. Like I was reading a post from Dan Martell and he was pitching his something. But he's like, I spoke to this guy, he was doing like trying to get to 200K per month, and he was working 80 hours a month or 80 hours a week to get there. And then we broke down things with his formula, and now he's at 40. But it's like his energy. It's like, what are you spending your energy on? Like, can this
Yeah.
be? Do you need transaction coordinator? Do you need another lead manager? Do you need somebody to go over and do this so that you do free yourself up? Because like
I think
you're
that's
saying, like to get to 250 deals, like I can't even imagine the stress that it would take to deal with all those
100%.
seller problems. And if you're still the one doing those seller problems versus the guy who's doing 11 deals, way less stress. He's still dealing with all the seller problems himself, but it's a lot easier for him to handle. But if you get what I'm saying,
Well,
right?
I 100% understand and agree with what you're saying, but one, there's a limited amount of people that get to that. Just like with anything in life, there's an 80-20 rule, but there's a 99-1 rule in a lot of industries.
Yeah.
But I just think people need to ask themselves why they're really in this business. And then if they truly have this capability, what else for that same effort that you put
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
could set you up better? Maybe it's mobile home parks. Maybe it's apartments. Maybe it's building brand new. Maybe it's not even in real estate. Maybe it's software. Maybe it's healthcare. Maybe it's fucking a cleaning business. I know a guy who stopped wholesaling and runs cleaning businesses, and he makes a shit ton of money.
Oh, that's funny.
You know, but again, like it does teach you some very fundamental. It's a very ease of access industry that gives you a crash
ease
course,
of access. Yes.
It gives you a crash course in business. Because I'll be honest with you, I may have come from the corporate world, right? And I may have been a realtor that
totally different than
ran my own business. Like realtors love to say they are business owners. You're fucking not, right? You're not a business owner. Wholesaling is what taught me how to run a business, how to be a leader, which I'm still learning. But without that, I don't think if John, if you had met me 5 years ago or 7 years ago, and I came to you with this idea, I don't think I would be nearly as good of a partner as I am today based on those lessons. You know what I'm saying? So I think wholesaling provides something, but I think if you stay in it too long, that's where I use that word addiction.
Yeah.
If you stay in it too long, are you really addicted to it? Is that why you're still doing it? Because if you were honest with yourself, there's something out there that might be better for you and more aligned with your life, your goals, and what your moonshot is. And you shouldn't be ashamed to leave that if that's the case. Old me would have been like, fuck you, you're a fucking sellout. But like, I'm starting to understand the real numbers of this. The more I listen to people brag about their numbers and I ask the questions, like, if that's really what he pulled in and like he has 2 or 3 partners and then he's got to split that and he probably, let's just be generous and say he does 40%, but he's got to run this whole fucking team and then he's got it. Like, I'm like, holy fuck, this motherfucker's only probably bringing home like 300-400K a year. And I'm like, why the fuck would I do all that for that much money? There's like, you could be a surgeon. People talk shit on jobs. I know people who work at Publix who bring home more than that.
Yeah. Well, that's because they started working in Publix in 1942.
Bro, Publix is a shit, dude.
Back when the British currency took a beating.
Publix, they make money, dude. And they get stocks and then they get dividends. And like, I knew a lady I sold a mobile home to back in the day. Well, I sold land and they bought the land with their Publix dividend payment.
Jeez.
And then they bought the fucking mobile home to put on it from Palm Harbor. And then she was telling me, she's like, well, we want to put a barn. We're going to wait until our next dividend payment so we just pay it out in cash. Her and her husband had worked so long at Publix that their dividend payments were basically bankrolling everything that they wanted to do. And it was just cash flow for them because they've been there. People for Publix, dude, that's why it's Lakeland, dude. Like,
Lakeland.
Like, you don't fuck around with Publix here in Lakeland.
No,
I told someone I shopped at Walmart for my food when I was in my 20s and I got scolded. My old broker told me that if I told any of my clients that, he's like, he goes, don't tell any of your clients that you shop.
That's hilarious.
He's like, you need to start shopping at Publix, man.
Where shopping's a pleasure, and Lakeland employees make a lot of money.
Yeah, they need to see you at Publix in Lakeland. That you have to be seen.
That's hilarious. All right, enough about Lakeland local news. I think you're right. I think that maybe that's something you should work on, and you can present that at a mastermind in front of 2,000 employees at one point. It'd be interesting to like go and analyze other industries that might have ease of access, or at least then start to rate. They're like, okay, great, Brandon, wholesaling's not the best option. What do I do now?
Yeah, that's true. Like, there's got to be a comparative analysis in there somewhere. And I don't have the answer to it. I've just been really bouncing why. Like, why stay in wholesaling? Like, what is it? What is it?
I don't think many people like realize that, have come to that realization. Even if they have age of maturity in the business, like, there's no marketing or conversation around that.
And what if you took it a step further and you said single family investing versus multifamily investing?
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
So like, I had stopped single family because I thought that was the ticket, and then I sold all of them like in my 20s. Like I sold my portfolio. I didn't have a lot, you know what I mean? But I sold them all because I realized like there was something wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just didn't feel scale. And I know there's people out there who have 200s of them, right? But again, the way you value real estate, commercial or apartments, mobile home parks, their values are derived off the income of that property, so you can force appreciate. Just when you talk about like the better, if I was going to put all my money somewhere, but yet I see a lot of guys who are just getting out, like not getting out, but they're taking that money from wholesaling. And what do you think they invest in first? Single family homes.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost like a rite of passage. You have to go through that, and then you get into multifamily and you start
maturity
to see,
and
like,
experience.
Yeah.
Takes that too. It's a part of the conversation, right? Like 16-year-old TikToker who's cold calling isn't jumping straight into multifamily.
True.
Or like commercial real estate, right? Like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Most likely.
And then you have to really take into effect like shiny object syndrome. When is it that you're just distracting yourself? So there's so many facts, and that's why I haven't worked out the answer, because there's so many caveats to it that it's like you really have to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, indeed. Always a good exercise to ask why and think about stuff like that for sure.
Why and how. Why and how. Well, hey, that was a fun divergent of our topics for an hour.
I know. I mean, I talked about it because I think it's very important that people start to really ask themselves that question going into this economy where money might dry up, deals might dry up, the dollar might have issues. Bank, you need to know what it is you ultimately want to do, because if you're not laying the groundwork for that now, and if it's wholesaling, it is. If it's single family or multifamily, whatever it is,
right?
But like at some point, you really got to ask yourself the question of what your long-term play is.
Yeah. Agreed.
So anyway.
Agreed.
All right.
Well, here we are at the end of the show.
I think that's all of our topics, bro.
I know. We skipped over restrictions to calling and texting. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. We can kind of loop back onto that.
We can definitely dive into that next week.
Yeah. But that was a good dive into the market and what you should be thinking about.
Yeah. Carlos, how's it going over there, bud? You're in deep thought.
No, I'm just chilling. I'm chilling. Always in deep thought.
Well, that's it. I don't have any updates for the week other than keep an eye on the news. The weekly pulse.
Yeah. Weekly pulse. We'll see what happens with the world and the economy and everything in between.
See if we're still around for that.
Yeah. Tune in next week to see if we survive. It's another week in this crazy universe. All right, guys. Have a great rest of the day. And we'll see you next week.
Awesome. See you guys.